It's Christmas Eve and everybody in the Bitcoin space cannot stop talking about Michael Saylor's newest announcement that happened yesterday when he announced that he wants to increase MicroStrategy's shares from 300 million to 10 billion. And when we run the numbers, we can see some people are implying and believe that this could send Bitcoin to millions of dollars per coin. Now, there's a few videos we're going to be reacting to today, and there is a lot of data that I want to run through today. We're going to be running the maths. We're going to be looking at the Bitcoin multiplier effect, and we're going to be showing you guys the truth around what this announcement actually means for Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. Let's begin by playing a little segment of this clip to get a little bit of a read of what the everyday person is thinking about when it comes to this announcement from MicroStrategy and kind of explain the bullishness around what's going on.
Okay, the numbers are nuts. Let me give you a quick cut at the numbers on this little table. Again, it's crude. Assuming the price of Bitcoin now is 95,000, give or take $1,000, who cares? Initial shares 330. They're going to increase it to 10.3 billion. That is the number of new shares of 9.97 billion new shares. If you assume the stock price stays at 336, they could raise $3.35 trillion. All right? 3.35 trillion. The numbers are insane. Again, assuming the price, their share price stays the same, of course. But if they were to spend 3.35 trillion at Bitcoin price of 95,000, they'd be able to buy 35.26 million Bitcoin. Spoiler, there's only 15 million and most of them are not for sale, okay?
Okay, so is MicroStrategy going to be trying to buy 35 million Bitcoin and raising $3 trillion to go out there and buy Bitcoin? The short answer, no. But I'm going to show you guys the maths, I'm going to show you guys the data, and we're going to run through a couple really good takes that I found on Twitter that explains this in a little bit more detail, okay? It is interesting, it's controversial. Jeff Park here says, no, MicroStrategy is not issuing 10 billion shares to buy $3 trillion worth of Bitcoin. I can't believe I'm tweeting this on Christmas Eve. Well, let's get into some data, okay? This here is the Kobesi letter. I just butchered his name on Christmas Eve, I apologize. And he has what I think is the best thread breaking down this topic. I want to break down a little bit more of what others are also talking about. So British Hodl here breaks it down nicely. He says, in simple terms, this is important because this is a complicated topic. MicroStrategy is asking for a 10 billion share expansion to build out runway for further capital expansion to buy Bitcoin. It does not mean that they will dilute the shares by 10 billion as soon as they get approved. That's the important part. British says, don't be dumb. They have momentum right now and they want the permission to avoid having to ask in a future potential bear market. I assume they won't need to ask again for quite some time. Okay. So again, I like that tweet because it emphasizes the importance of time frames here. Michael Saylor is not going to dilute shares by 10 billion tomorrow. Okay. That's simply not going to happen. That's simply not how something like this would hypothetically get rolled out. Okay. It's never going to happen. But let's actually have a look at how MicroStrategy's stock price has reacted to this. So we can see here on screen, this is MicroStrategy's stock price. Now, again, if they were going to be diluting by 10 billion shares tomorrow at the market, I'm telling you, their stock price wouldn't look like this. It's a Tuesday, markets are open, and the stock price is relatively unchanged for the past 3 to 4 days, okay? It is still having a normal correction after having an explosive move up. Yes, right now, MicroStrategy is down 33% from its peak. Peak to trough correction is 42%. Again, we've warned you, be very careful. MicroStrategy is very volatile. It is beta on Bitcoin. Again, I don't want to say the stock is not performing well because it's the best performing stock in the damn world compared to its all-time high of 2021. MicroStrategy's up by 80% still. Bitcoin right now is what, 30 to 40% above its all-time high in 2021. So obviously what MicroStrategy is doing is working. Okay. I think Rock puts it nicely. They will continue multiple stock splits and the stock pool will increase. So let's break down exactly why I agree with Rock's chat. Again, this is going to be a gradual, continual process. So let's have a look. Let's go through this thread from the Kobesi letter. Again, this dude has hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter, not necessarily a hardcore Bitcoiner, but he explains the reasoning for why MicroStrategy is doing something so wild and so crazy. Again, right now, total share count is 330 million. They are diluting, or they are trying to raise 10 billion shares. Orders of magnitude higher. Orders of magnitude more shares. So let's have a look here. Why are they doing this and why are they doing this now? This comes down to this chart here. So first, MicroStrategy's 21-21 plan that was announced in October is a crucial part of why they're doing this. The plan was to raise $42 billion of capital by 2027 to buy more Bitcoin. However, since October, they've pretty much achieved that goal, now holding 444,000 Bitcoin worth 41 billion. Okay. Now this is where the next point's a really important one. So we can see here, currently MicroStrategy is capped at 330 million shares of common stock with 225 million shares outstanding. So why are they proposing this? Well, because they nearly ran out of shares to issue at the market to go and buy more Bitcoin. That's the biggest reason. And especially considering how aggressively Saylor has executed a 3-year plan in less than 3 months. Okay, October was when he initially said, we're going to try to buy $42 billion of Bitcoin over the next 3 years. This was a plan TradFi thought was nuts. TradFi said, you're never going to buy $40 billion worth of Bitcoin. And Saylor said, you know what? No, I'm going to try and do it in 3 weeks. He nearly did do it in 3 weeks. He's done it in well and truly under 3 months. It's December. He announced this plan in October, and we can see that they're running out of shares. This is the biggest reason why Saylor has to try to dilute the company, quote unquote, and get to that 10 billion share number. Now, this is a very important part that's well above my pay grade, but most people agree on this. He's going to have to do a 10-to-1 stock split, non-dilutive, which would bring the share count to 3.3 billion. So this proposal gives MicroStrategy flexibility to do future at the market buys, and convertible note offerings and stock splits. Now, why do they need the ability to do this? Because it's their entire business model. Borrow money through 0% convertible notes, buy Bitcoin, rinse, repeat. Okay? We can see here, the bullish argument is that this proposal allows MicroStrategy the ability to issue more shares in the future. This is simple, right? I don't think this is the bullish argument. This is the base case. The proposal will allow 10 billion shares to be issued, but this does not mean 10 billion shares are coming at once. They can use these issuances in the future to buy Bitcoin. So this goes back to British Hodl's point, okay? That would be ridiculous, and I don't think they even can issue 10 billion shares at the market tomorrow to try to buy $3 trillion of Bitcoin. It's not going to happen. Imposible is what we say in Spanish. It's impossible. But the announcement to do this now in a bull market, to British Hodl's point, while they have this momentum and good graces in the market, I think it's genius. Absolutely genius. Because again, I'm still expecting we see bear markets. I don't think they're going to be 18 months or 2-year bear markets like what we just recently saw. I'm expecting, yes, they're probably going to be shorter, but I do still think we're going to see these 50% drawdowns in Bitcoin. And what is that going to lead to in a drawdown in the share price of MicroStrategy? Probably more. So the fact that Saylor's getting ahead of the curve and doing this while we're in the early stages of a bull run, I think it's really smart. Timing is absolutely everything. Okay, I think it's incredibly smart. Let's break down this thread a little bit more before I show you some of the bull posting from Michael Saylor. Again, very, 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 very interesting. Okay. So I thought an interesting observation here was that MicroStrategy is actually losing money right now on their core business model. And this is why the haters cannot understand what's going on with MicroStrategy. They're pointing to that chart and they're saying, look, MicroStrategy is losing money. How are you, MicroStrategy and Bitcoin idiots, buying this thing? That's what they think of us. They think we're noobs. They think we're speculators, right? Well, it's because we understand that the reason MicroStrategy's stock price and market cap has gone from 1 billion in 2020 to 100 billion in 2024 is because of the Bitcoin component of MicroStrategy. They are a Bitcoin bank. They are a Bitcoin acquisition company. I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Let's move on. So we can see here, it's been very obvious that MicroStrategy has had its core underlying business model losing money for 10 years. Okay? It's not a crazy number. Speaking of numbers that are not crazy, a lot of the MicroStrategy bears have been squealing from the rooftop today, okay? They have been saying, whoa, 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 hang on a minute. You can't hold those MicroStrategy bags if all of a sudden it has 10 billion shares. Oh, Michael Saylor's, I need to be careful what I say. It's a live stream. I don't want to get the channel deleted on Christmas Eve. Some people are saying Michael Saylor is dumping on your heads. I can say that. He's dumping his shares. He's getting out of the game. That's what some bears are saying. They're saying 10 billion shares. That's so many, right? Wrong. Let's have a look at this. I thought this was a really interesting chart. So Apple, a multi-trillion-dollar company today, has 15.2 billion shares outstanding. Microsoft and Amazon, 7.5 billion shares and 10.5 billion shares. Okay. All MicroStrategy is doing is joining the ranks of these companies with his 10 billion share offering. Now, I know we've been in the numbers, we've been in the weeds, we've been getting really funky and talking about all sorts of crazy things. I want to first explain why this potential buy could represent a $1 million Bitcoin. Again, this is not my view. My view is that no, MicroStrategy is not going to be issuing $10 billion worth of shares tomorrow to buy Bitcoin. I'm going to represent the views of, let's say, the hyperbolic bullish views. So to do that, we're going to have to check on the multiplier effect. But I think before we even get there, we're going to have to come back to this little table that James from Invest Answers had. Again, he's got a pretty big audience, 500,000 subs on YouTube here. Now, I want to try to blow this table up so it's as big as possible for you guys, so you guys can see what I'm cooking with. Now, you can see, hypothetically, this would represent $3.3 trillion in demand for Bitcoin. Again, I'm bullish, don't get me wrong. I'm bullish. And again, if Saylor could make it happen to buy $3.3 trillion of Bitcoin tomorrow, it's going to be bullish. Now, the hypothetical assumption here is that Bitcoin price stays at $95,000. And if those two things are true, Michael Saylor could hypothetically buy 35 million Bitcoin. Now, we all know that there's 21 million Bitcoin, and there's only about 2 to 3 million Bitcoin available on exchanges. So this alone is going to absolutely skyrocket the price. But to put this number in a little bit more context, I want to run some numbers for you guys. So again, we would hypothetically have $3.3 trillion of demand from this stock split, from MicroStrategy. Now, a lot of people, I believe, are looking at this wrong. They're saying, okay, Bitcoin's a $2 trillion market cap, $3.3 trillion of demand. This will double Bitcoin, nearly. They'd say, oh, this will pump Bitcoin by 70%. It's cute, it's cool, it's It's interesting. You're looking at it wrong. Again, if we adopt this framing, this uber bullish framing, it is Christmas Eve. Why not give you guys a bullish present? If you adopt this crazy hypothetical bullish scenario, you have to remember that if you have $3.3 trillion of hypothetical demand for Bitcoin, you have to remember that not all Bitcoin are available for sale. We know that only 2 to 3 million Bitcoin circulate on exchanges, and only 2 to 4 million Bitcoin are actually classified as liquid or highly liquid, meaning they go onto and off the exchanges on a regular basis, meaning they're essentially for sale. The other 14, 15 million coins, guess where they are, baby? I'm not holding many, but I'm holding some, all right? And my Bitcoin will not be going on the exchanges for any price. I don't give a rat's ass, okay? I'm not selling my coins. And I know there's a lot of psychopaths out there like you who think of Bitcoin in the same way. So when we understand this, and when we understand there are billionaires like Michael Saylor, who is saying, I am not selling my coins for 100 years, you have to remember, and you have to use something called the Bitcoin multiplier effect in all of your Bitcoin maths. So let me show you guys the multiplier effect and what this would imply for a scenario where we have $3.3 trillion of hypothetical demand for Bitcoin. Let's have a look. So right now, the multiplier effect is right here, 5.8. It's nearly an all-time high. Now, again, for the ease of mathematical purposes, I want to just round this up to 6 for today's video. Again, you guys know I'm not the best at maths, especially on a live stream, but we're going to use 6 today. So again, if you've got $3.3 trillion of hypothetical demand for Bitcoin, you have to times that 3.3 by 6, get you up to somewhere around 19 and change trillion dollars, which you can then put onto Bitcoin's market cap. Again, we're at about $1.9 trillion today. So all of a sudden you got around 2 trillion, you got around 19 trillion, you smash those numbers together and you've got a $21 trillion market cap for Bitcoin if Michael Saylor is able to execute this dilution, quote unquote, today and go out there and try to buy as many Bitcoin as possible. This is again representing the crazy hypothetical view that some of the bulltards have. Okay, I don't actually agree with this. I'm pretty bullish, but I don't think Saylor is going to execute this tomorrow. But this would hypothetically send Bitcoin to over $1 million a coin. If you've got a $21 trillion market cap, you can then account for the 21 million coins. You're looking at a $1 million Bitcoin just from this buy alone, from one billionaire out of the 2,500 billionaires there are in the world. This is just one public company out of the 58,000 public companies and the 330 million businesses around the world. Pretty crazy when we start thinking about just how much of a small fish Michael Saylor is. But again, let's have a little bit of a look here at whether Michael Saylor even is a small fish anymore. We're going to come back to the thread here in a moment. But again, this is the official account of Michael Saylor. I get all of my best ideas from Barron's. Let's have a look at the article. MicroStrategy wants the ability to issue enough shares to buy all the world's Bitcoin. No, I'm not joking. That's a Michael Saylor tweet. That's a real tweet. Believe it or not, it's absolutely crazy when you think about it, that we have billionaires bull posting about Bitcoin. Now, I have another tweet from a MicroStrategy expert that we're going to be breaking down here in a moment, Punter Jeff. Again, I hope I told you guys, I am not an expert in this realm of stock splits and all the technical jargon associated with it. I'm an Australian gringo with a pretty shitty haircut, and I know nothing about financial engineering or anything like this, but we're going to go to an expert here in a moment who does know a little bit more about this space. I want to first check on the chat. Matthew J says that the floor price will be above $250,000 no matter what. The floor price is rising. Again, I just want to remind you guys, all of the aggressive buying we've seen, Saylor's scooped up around 200,000 coins in the past 2 months. There's 450 Bitcoin mined a day. That is 400 days worth of newly issued supply bought by one billionaire. Yeah, that's right. I think that maths is right. And we also have other companies, other public companies. It's no longer crazy Saylor on his own anymore doing this and actually increasing the floor price for Bitcoin. Because if Saylor is just continuously buying 400 days worth of supply every couple months, the floor price for Bitcoin is rising because there is this perpetual bid under the market. Again, another element of this. MicroStrategy's just got included into the NASDAQ. What does this mean? It means that we now have a passive bid for MicroStrategy. Every day, there's money hitting the market saying, you know what? Buy me some of that NASDAQ and some of that S&P 500 for my retirement accounts. This is really big in America. 350 million people who are just passively investing into these two major indices because they think of stocks as their savings account. And they just say to their money managers, 10% of my income every month, just go and do what you want with it. Go and buy the indices. Go and buy the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. And now some of that perpetual bid money is swooping into Bitcoin because MicroStrategy got included into the NASDAQ last week. So the floor price is rising. Okay, it really is rising right now. All right, let me get back on track here. So we are having all of this perpetual bid in the Bitcoin market. We got MicroStrategy buying 400 days worth of supply in 2 months. MicroStrategy's in the NASDAQ. That's a perpetual bid coming from passive money, just flowing into Bitcoin, buying NASDAQ every day. They're buying MicroStrategy by proxy. We have Marathon. They just bought 20 days worth of supply last month. Riot Platforms. They just issued a $500 million convertible debt note that was, again, oversubscribed to $600 million. $600 million of demand. That's, again, another 11 or 12 days worth of supply eaten up by another public company. Who else do we have? Oh, I'm glad you asked. This is actually the topic for a future video that I have planned for you guys. So here's the Riot Platforms receipt I was just telling you guys about. And this is going to do some pretty crazy things when we start talking about the MNAV or the multiplier effect for MicroStrategy. We're going to get there in a moment. We are going to get there in a moment. And we can see here Marathon, second largest public holder of Bitcoin, talking about buying another lazy 700 million big ones of Bitcoin at 0% convertible notes. This is the big takeaway here, guys. There is an insatiable demand for these debt products that are backed by Bitcoin. And it's not just MicroStrategy anymore. It's Marathon. It's Riot Platforms. They're also getting their debt products oversubscribed, which is why I think some pretty crazy things are going to be coming in the next 12 months. I like to give you guys the inside scoop on future videos, especially to the live stream loyal watchers. We can see, I mean, there's 148 companies right now aggressively buying Bitcoin. Aggressively buying Bitcoin. Now, I promised you guys, I want to look at the probabilities of whether this gets approved or not. We're going to be breaking all that down in a moment. I want to first check on the chat. Rock VTM, another super chat. Dude, honestly, for those who don't know, might be joining new to the 913 of you guys tuning in on Twitter and YouTube. Rock VTM is like single-handedly a channel sponsor over here. The number of super chats you've sent is incredible. So thank you so much, my friend. It's Christmas Eve. I really appreciate the love and the support, the continued support, dude. Okay, let's answer some questions. I know we have a ton of MicroStrategy questions. A ton, absolutely ton. It's an interesting comment here by XX Smart. Leveraging a volatile asset directly can get you liquidated. So you leverage another asset to insulate the leverage, like borrowing against your house with relatively low rates and buying Bitcoin. I think our boy Michael Saylor does have a really nice strategy. I don't think he faces any risk of liquidation. Ooh, great comment. Luke, do you think the multiplier effect could increase in the future as more coins are lost and stored away forever? My favorite topic to talk about. I think we've already seen the answer to that question peep its head into the market over the past couple of years. So we can see in a live stream yesterday, I asked the question, why is the multiplier effect continually hitting new all-time highs? In 2021, it hit a level it's never hit before. And then here in 2024, we've seen a new all-time high again. Why? I believe it's because right now, coins on exchanges are doing something we've never seen before, and that is enter a 4-year trend of supply suffocation. So as we continue to see this trend of supply suffocation that I have on screen right now, I expect the multiplier effect to continue to rise. That's what we're going to see. We can see Bitcoin exchanges are now at 2018 lows. 7-year, nearly. We're at nearly 2025, guys. Happy New Year. We're nearly at 7-year lows. So it's clear that there is a new trend shift. The new trend is that since 2020, big money has been taking Bitcoin off the exchanges for the long term. So I do expect the multiplier effect to rise. That is only natural. Great comment there, McLovin. Great question. Rock VTM. MSTR is an incredible investment for the maxis that have a stomach for volatility. I can't talk. It's 9 o'clock over here and I haven't had breakfast yet. Forgive me, guys. Well, you guys don't actually have to imagine where the MicroStrategy stock price might be with $1 million Bitcoin, because I actually have a chart for you. I know I'm going to find it somewhere. Just give me a second. But there is a really good chart floating around that is actually showing us how the multiplier effect of MicroStrategy rises in a bull market. So again, hypothetical assumptions here. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I believe that the higher the price of Bitcoin goes, the higher that multiplier effect for MSTR goes. So I know I can find it here somewhere for you guys. Someone will have it for me. Oh, why is there so much bearish propaganda here on Twitter? All right. So here's one of the charts. It's not the sexiest. I'm going to find you guys a better one. I owe you that. I owe you that. But what you're looking at is the higher the price of Bitcoin goes, the higher that MicroStrategy MNAV multiplier rises. Okay, and to the question in the live chat. Oh, there we go. All right. I found what I want to show you. I found you the bullish stuff, the moon juice. As we can see, at $1 million Bitcoin. Well, sorry, this is at a $500,000 Bitcoin. This projection of the data is implying a 29x multiplier on the MicroStrategy shares, which would imply a $15,000 stock price for MicroStrategy. Again, you guys know how I feel about projections of data. Take them with a grain of salt. Okay? That's all the power law model is. It's a projection of what I believe is faulty data. The first 15 years of Bitcoin's life. It'll be very different fundamentally to the next 15 years of Bitcoin's life. I'm not going to go on on a rampage tonight about the multiplier effect. Sorry, the power law model. We're going to stay on topic here with MicroStrategy. Daily dose of bull tardishness. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, come on. Ex-producer Pam says, why have you not smashed the like buttons yet? I got 945 of you guys tuning in on Christmas Eve. If you are enjoying the MicroStrategy breakdown, we would appreciate a smashing or a molesting of the like buttons down below. We're told it's good for the YouTube algorithms. Puts this bull-tarded content in the eyes of more people. Rox says, Feliz Navidad. That's how we say Merry Christmas. That's how we say Merry Christmas on this side of the world. My boy Brandon's on the same live stream as me. Go and support Brandon from Green Candle. Speaking of Brandon, you should support my man Brandon Gentile as well. One of the most underrated Bitcoiners and Bitcoin YouTubers. Definitely subscribe to his channel. Well, I believe he puts out more content than me, believe it or not. He has a clips channel. British Hodl is my financial advisor, Lewis. The bullishness cannot be explained. The thing that can be explained, guys, the thing that I'm going to control myself. The thing that can be explained is the fact that I think Michael Saylor is very likely to get this passed. Why? Well, I told you guys I was going to talk about the probabilities. Let's see what the experts are saying. So the experts, this is Jeff Walton, Punter Jeff. He's a MicroStrategy. He's someone who follows MicroStrategy very closely. And he's my go-to source of information for MicroStrategy. And he was very early on this trend. He was very bullish on MicroStrategy well before the craziness we've seen this year. So we can say here, this move by Saylor is foreshadowing more convertible debt leverage and likely another stock split. Very high likelihood that this is passed, and it's a greater than 99% probability that this is passed in the eyes of Punter Jeff. Oh, God, I'm cramping on a live stream. This is bad. Bad idea to go for a run. My little chicken legs are cramping. Let me get my wits about me and try to concentrate. Can I pull a straight face while my legs are fucking cramping? I want to show you guys one more very important piece of information here about MicroStrategy. The Kobeissi letter here says that in summary, the bulls will call this the next big thing for MicroStrategy, while the bears will call this 97% share dilution. If MicroStrategy wants to continue buying Bitcoin, this was always a necessary. And then how likely is it to pass? That's what we're talking about right now. Well, it's very likely to pass in the eyes of Kobeissi letter because Michael Saylor currently holds 46.8% of the voting power. And that means only 4% of the remaining shareholders, if they approve it, then it is very likely that it will pass. You can see here in the little note, the Giga Chad holds 46.8% of the voting power. So it is very likely that this passes, and it is very likely that this is going to be incredibly bullish for Bitcoin. It would be a Christmas miracle. It's going to be bullish. It's pretty crazy that this gets released yesterday on the 23rd, a couple of days before Christmas. And with all that said, whoa, somebody's crunched the exact numbers in the chat. $21.3 trillion. That would be the hypothetical market cap if the GigaChad pulled this off tomorrow. But again, my base case, this is going to take time. He's raising all of these shares so that he can buy Bitcoin over the next few years and stomach the bear market. This is why Michael Saylor is buying so much Bitcoin today at the top, because it was the rising price of Bitcoin that gave the debt market confidence to give him so much capital. That's why these big green dots are getting bigger the higher the price of Bitcoin goes. This is a little bit similar to the struggles that companies like Berkshire Hathaway run into. A lot of these companies that manage money, at the very time that they want to use the money to invest when the markets go down, their investors take their money out because they get scared. This is why what Berkshire Hathaway did was revolutionary. They created a structure that was different, where they could hold on to the cash the whole time and they can weather these bear markets. Most other traditional hedge funds, they're screwed. Market goes down, the everyday person shits their pants and they say, oh, I want to sell too. And they pull their money away from the hedge fund and the hedge fund says, no, I want to buy. Now's the time to buy. Michael Saylor is trying to avoid the same problem. It's very difficult for him to raise debt when there's no confidence in the Bitcoin price. So I think the summary of this enormous 10 billion share expansion is so that it gives him some runway in the bear market. So I think this is going to be a plan that is rolled out and executed over the next couple of years, 2025, 2026, maybe even 2027. Maybe this gives him enough runway for the long term. But I think in summary, this is incredibly bullish. I don't think it's bearish for MicroStrategy shareholders. Earlier in the stream, we showed you guys the price of MicroStrategy. And if the bears were true, it would already be crashing. Bitcoin would already be crashing. MicroStrategy would already be crashing. What I think is interesting, while I'm talking about the price, I can't control myself. Let's peep in on the price, because we may or may not be getting a God candle on Christmas Eve. Okay, maybe we won't. Bitcoin's had a nice bounce today, though. I will say that. Bitcoin's up about 4,000 big ones today, bouncing from 93K to 98K. Oh, somebody's knocking on my door. I think I've been too loud. Shit. All right, guys. I need to take the hint. I can't talk into my mic, so I feel like I'm yelling a little bit, trying to talk in my laptop. To the 1,002 of you guys tuning in between Twitter and YouTube, I apologize so much about my dodgy audio. I'm going to go charge my ship. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. Thank you so much to Rock VTM for the $100 super chat. I'm going to go get a new mic. What I need is a new cable, not necessarily a mic, but that's a story for another day. I hope you guys enjoy your Christmas, your holiday season. I'm going to be going live tomorrow because vamos. I would continue this live stream now, but I'm late for dinner. I'm very late for dinner as usual. It's how I roll. So I wanted to go live with you guys tonight and break down what was going on with MicroStrategy. I hope that was helpful. I hope you have a good Christmas Eve. I hope Santa comes to you tonight. I hope you enjoy Christmas tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow for another live stream. I might even double up and do 2 tomorrow. Again, the Bitcoin content will continue to flow all holiday season. And with that said, I'm going to end this one here. Have a great night.